Hi everyone, my name is Jamila and welcome to my channel. Here I'm going to be sharing my personal journey navigating with primary ovarian insufficiency, also known as POI, while focusing on getting healthier, working out, making positive lifestyle changes. Join me as I learn about POI, explore different approaches to well-being and the ups and downs of this experience. My goal is to create an open and supportive environment, safe space for anyone dealing with similar challenges, also going through POI, going through this journey together, offering insight, tips, just everything I'm going through, so you can have like a sense of community. This is my real life, my real journey, and I hope it can offer some guidance and connection for you too. I also have a website that I'm just now launching called mypoijourney.com. It's going to have blogs about POI and the POI experience, healthier recipes, and more, so go check it out. So primary ovarian insufficiency, or POI, what is it? So it's when the ovaries stop working like they should before the age of 40. When this happens, the ovaries don't typically make the same amount of estrogen as they normally would, and they don't release eggs regularly. And so I'll get into my story later, but I'm in my 30s. And who does it impact? So POI is pretty rare. It typically affects about 1% of women between ages 15 and 44. And it can impact those who have and have not had children. What are some symptoms of POI? Irregular or missed periods, trouble getting pregnant, decreased sex drive, difficulty concentrating, irritability, dry eyes, hot flashes, night sweats. Unfortunately, for many people like myself, we'll never know what was the cause of our POI. Others, it may be a chromosome change, toxins, radiation, chemotherapy, but I think it's like 90-something% or like 90% of women will not know. What are some potential side effects or complications for people with POI? Infertility. So I mentioned like the ovaries and not releasing eggs like it's supposed to. Women with POI usually have a lower, actually not usually, women with POI have a lower AMH, which is correlated to the amount of eggs you have left, and I'm going to go into all that stuff in like a later video. Osteoporosis, so basically when bones become brittle and weaker is because, again, lower estrogen, and the loss of estrogen earlier can lead to osteoporosis. Depression, anxiety, people who have POI, because of some of the other potential side effects I mentioned and some that I'm going to mention, can cause just the anxiety and depression in folks. Cardiovascular disease, so again with the loss of estrogen it becomes at a higher risk of heart conditions, and then dementia as well, which when I first was learning about all these like potential side effects or like related complications due to POI, it was very scary and overwhelming, which again is part of why I wanted to make this page and the website, because it's just like it can feel lonely on the island because like no one really knows what it is, no one talks about it. Like when I was doing research, I just really didn't find too much about it and too much like community spaces about it, so I just wanted to create that as a safe space, because like I said, I felt so alone when I first got my diagnosis, and I honestly haven't even had mine for a year yet. But I'm learning and I'm growing every day and pushing and making the best out of what I can. So now that I kind of did like a quick overview of like what POI is, I'm gonna kind of talk about my story, my journey, or I guess I should say the beginning of my journey, because it's just starting. So this is 2025, yeah. So my husband and I got married at City Hall in 2022. And then we had our small micro wedding with our family in 2023, and then towards the end of the year. So then we did some traveling in 2024. We did a 2-week trip to Japan last summer, and we were like, okay, we were doing like that planning thing, like new married couples do. We're like, okay, we're gonna go on this last one big trip, and then we're gonna start trying to get pregnant, and boom, we're gonna be pregnant, we're gonna have a kid, yada yada yada, pow pow pow, right? Like that was what we thought was gonna happen. But no, shortly after we came back from Japan, I found out that I had POI. But to kind of back it up a little bit, I was having some symptoms that I didn't know were symptoms because I didn't know POI existed, right? Like, you don't hear about it at school. No one talks about it. Even when I was telling my friend, I've told some of my friends and family about it, they're like, girl, what? I don't know. I've never heard of that. Oh my gosh. And yeah, it's a little devastating. But so, like I said, let me circle on back. So I'll say in 2024, like, I started to notice my period was being off. And like, for me, that's a big thing. Like, I was the girl that every 25 days, it was coming. Okay, like, it was coming every 25 days and it was less than 7 days. Ever since I was, what, like 12, 13, when I first started my period. And I'm in my 30s now, so like 2 decades of it being on time. And maybe in those 2 decades, it might have been off by a couple of days, a total of 10 times in like 20 years. Like, all right, so, you know, when this thing started getting a little off, it was like, all right, now something's up. So I think like about in April of last year, it was like a little over 2 weeks late. And I was like, what is happening? What is going on? And I had mentioned this because I had just my, you know, gynecology appointment, a check-in, and she was like, okay, you know, that's not necessarily normal. But for me, I wasn't thinking too much about it because, you know, when you look online, they say missing a period or a couple weeks late here and there is perfectly normal. But thankfully, my doctor heard my concerns and she was like, okay, we'll do some tests. I think at that time we did like an ultrasound at the time, which came back clear and normal. And then I was also having a vulnerable moment. I was also having some pain during intercourse. So she gave me a referral for pelvic floor physical therapy. And so I did that, and then I set a follow-up appointment with her for a few months down the line to see how that was going. So fast forward a couple months, and I think it maybe like June or July, my period, like I got 2 periods that month, and I'm like, okay, I feel like this is trying to make up for that April, like, you know, mess up or whatever. So then I have my follow-up appointment with my gynecologist, and it's like, okay, pelvic floor therapy, it's doing great, boom, that's good. But then I, you know, was telling her like, yeah, my period's still been a little weird, so she ordered some blood tests. She was like, okay, let's do some blood work, labs, and see what's going on. Another symptom that I had, an indicator that I did not pay attention to, were the hot flashes. The hot flashes, the hot flashes, the hot flashes. They were rough. I honestly owe an apology to my mother, because I remember as a kid, she'd be having hot flashes, and like it was in the winter, and she would like roll down her window, and I'm from Chicago, right? So Chicago winters, especially when I was a kid, were super cold, snowy, all that, and we were in the back like, oh my God. But now that I've like had to deal with it, I'm like, oh my God, I owe her an apology. Like, I literally had a little fan that I was carrying around. And you know, I was kind of ignoring that fact, you know, the hot flashes, thinking like, oh, it's just summertime, you know, oh, we were in Japan and it's like 100 degrees outside, and like that's what's going on. Or like I also had a lot of brain fog, like at work, like just in the middle of meetings, just kind of like spacing on what like I was saying or doing or whatever. And I just played it off like, oh, you know, you didn't get a good night's sleep, you never really get a good night's sleep, which waking up with the night sweats, I didn't even have an excuse or a reason for that, but I just didn't even like put it all together. But like looking back, like signs were there. And that's why I think it's important for this channel and the website, and just, you know, bring more awareness to this, because it's like, you know, trust yourself and trust your body, believe yourself. If something seems off, don't write it off. You know, if you can get to a doctor, have access to a doctor, or some you know, something in your community, you should really try to reach out and make an appointment and be heard. So let's come back, and it's over like a long weekend, and my like doctor is like out of office, but you know, with my chart, you can look it up, and it kind of shows you what the normal ranges are for someone, you know, your age, or like different specifications on there. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, none of this is normal. Like, my FSH is high, my AMH is low, and my estrogen is low. And so I'll go into all those labs and what that means later in another video. But so I started Googling. I'm like, okay, low AMH, what does that mean? I'm trying to figure it out. And Google told me, because, you know, gotta go to Google all your symptoms while you're waiting. Or Google all your symptoms just in general, because I'm a millennial. It was like DOR, diminished ovarian reserve. So I'm going into you know, expecting to hear that from my doctor, and no, my doctor was like, it looks like you might have something called POI, primary ovarian insufficiency, but before you can get the official diagnosis, you have to repeat the labs in a certain time frame and get like the same similar results. So I did, and the results were the same. And so it was shocking to me, and it was shocking to my doctor. You know, she was like, I was not expecting this to be the case. And then she referred me to a reproductive excuse me, can't talk today, it's been a long day at work. She referred me to a reproductive endocrinologist, because, you know, like I said, my husband and I were trying to have kids at the time, and then having POI, that just creates a whole new barrier to having kids, and that's something I'll go into in a future video. But in that like waiting in between time, before, you know, knowing what I really had and Googling everything, all of it said that it was dang near impossible to have kids, and just, you're gonna get osteoporosis, you're gonna get dementia, you know, all this. And so it was really hard. And my husband and I actually were on a family vacation. We went to Bethany Beach with his family for a family reunion, and there were like 4 little kids around. Lovely little kids, love them all to death, love the family. But we hadn't told anyone anything about this at the time. So like for me, it was kind of like a really hard and traumatic moment, because it's like I'm looking at all these cute, fun loving little kids, all the happy parents, grandparents, and this is something that like I may never get to experience. So I was going through it. But since I've had conversations with my reproductive endocrinologist, and all hope is not lost. It's just through different measures than what, you know, you may think. But again, more on that later, and that whole TTC, trying to conceive journey, and what we're doing there. So like I said, this channel is like, it's gonna grow with me as we explore this condition. We're gonna do this together, because you are not alone, I'm not alone, we are here together. And I do just want to give a shout out to my husband, because he has been very supportive through this entire thing, and I am truly appreciative of him. But yeah, this is kind of like an opening video. It went kind of deep. It's like, hey, now you know me. This is who I am. Honestly, this is gonna be a journey, opening up on camera, sharing myself. I mean, I feel like even in this video you can see me open up from like my cold opening, like, welcome to my channel, we are gonna talk about primary ovarian insufficiency, and just trying to, you know, be myself and relax about it as I make these videos, but also just share and be vulnerable, which isn't always easy. But like I said, also having a corresponding website, so mypoijourney.com. It's gonna be blogs twice a week is my goal, and a community forum where other people with POI can come and connect, talk about experiences, get recommendations of help, like, oh, I'm going through this, has anybody gone through this? Or maybe little life hacks, you know, like, oh yeah, when the hot flashes came up, I got my little $8 fan off Amazon, or oh, I drink this kind of tea in the morning for energy. Just a place to support each other and be there for each other, no matter what stage of, you just found out, you've had it for years, you're trying to conceive, you don't want to conceive, you already have kids, like anything that's going on. So come along for this journey. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to end these videos in the future, but how about this? Come along this journey. No? Okay, that's weird too. All right. But just know that you are not alone. We are in this together.